So welcome everybody. Welcome to never know what to call it.
Is it a meeting?
Sure. The meeting about nothing. Nothing to get, nowhere to get to, and no one to get it already. And here, the word already was key, if I can speak in such a way, because it already meant it's already the case. So when Nkosi said there's already no me there already, so there's no one to get rid of, no one to even get enlightened. There's just no one there. There's thoughts appearing, seemingly a conversation, but when looked for, nothing's found. You don't find a person, and you can't even actually find a thought. Thoughts seem like they're there, but when they're looked for, have you ever found a thought? And could it be that the one looking for the thought is another thought? So all the bodies moving around are empty, like a play, just moving, bodies moving around with no one inside them. And this is because there's no separation. That's the me feels like separation, but there's never been separation. That's an imagining. And it can even feel like it. It can definitely feel that way, but even the feeling isn't proof that it's actually a separation. It's just a feeling that the mind labels as this feels separate, but we don't know what that is. It's like the one thought says, hey, what is that? And the other thought says, it's a feeling of separation. And the other thought goes, oh, right. Like without the thought to tell you what anything is, what is anything? So we could say as a quote me, that's all the me's doing is in that imaginary realm of thought all day long. That's just the dream of separation. I got to get this done and I got to get that done. And, there's always fires to be put out, things to be done, and it's endless. And here that just got undoable. It just was juggling like too many plates in the, those spinning plates where when I was a kid, that was on Ed Sullivan show. I'm dating myself, right? The big thing was the plate spinner. I don't know if kids today would stand for that, but back then it was pretty exciting to watch seven, and the guy would run around and one would begin to topple, and no idea where I was going with that story. Oh yeah, it was trying to keep it all together, trying to keep your plates, metaphorically speaking, from crashing. And I just found that undoable. Like it's almost like you walk away and somehow the plates are fine. It's not that I did anything. It's just that it wasn't necessary, all that work, all that efforting, trying to get it right, say the right thing, compose the right email, handle myself, look correctly, look as good as all that bullshit is endless. So you could say, like, I don't know was heard here as freedom. I don't know was freedom. Because all the knowing didn't, it didn't, it never can get it to work. Yeah, and so the dream just carries on. The dream just carries on. It turns out it doesn't need a me. That was all a mental imagining. The sky, the rain, the clouds, the sun, it's all happening spontaneously on its own. Even the sense of me is spontaneously happening on its own. So you didn't do it and you can't get it to go away. So this is an open meeting. If anybody has any comments or questions, feel free to unmute and jump in.
Well, where I'm at the moment, I think I never get tired of hearing you, Michael, talk about how it was for you. It sounded like it got to a tipping point and you said, enough. I've had enough. And would that be correct? Would you say it was like a tipping point? Yeah, I've had enough of this spinning the plates.
Yeah, after trying every possible thing I could do to keep them aloft. It wasn't like I saw it instantly. I tried every single thing I could get my hand, any self-help and, spiritual, all of it. But it was only after exhausting all possibilities that I could find that I gave up, because all I ended up being was exhausted.
Yeah. Well, so so I'm interested, was there any fear involved? Did you did you experience any feel when you were exhausted? Was there any fear of letting go of keeping those plates in the air?
No, well, the fear was when the me wanted to be like, enlightened, like Tony Parsons. So the fear was, oh, maybe I won't like get what Tony has or something like that, or it was fear of not succeeding, but it was still a me.
But you gave that up as well as
Well, I didn't. I just saw that there never was something, realized there never was a me. So that's why I couldn't get rid of it.
So there probably wasn't a fear about letting go of the story. Somehow you realized it.
Well, you could just say it just was what happened. I mean, I didn't it's just over here. It was a very like that, the old story about dipping the scarf in the dye 50 times, beautiful purple, and they would dip these silks, and you have to dip them many times. And that's why I encourage, those that are interested in this message is to listen to Nkosi or these meetings as much as you can, because by immersing yourself in this, it becomes more natural to you.
Thank you. Because the point I was wanting to bring up was, and I don't know if Alan has quoted this about, I'm trying to get my head around this bridging idea, or what encourages the recognition to happen. And it seems that like last time when we met, you Michael, spoke about you gave up the need to be right. Something like that, yeah?
Yeah, like it fell away on its own though. Like I didn't give it up.
Right.
It just sort of like I could just see it wasn't my interest. The peace was more interesting than being right.
Right, okay. It was just that this me person here was encouraged to give up whatever I was holding on to, because I heard those words from you about, and again today when you talk about the spinning plates, and like I relate to that. So like 100% relate to the frustration and effort involved and everything, and it brings me a sense of peace, maybe brings me some sort of joy. And I'm still talking about the me, but hearing that sort of message is, I'm drawn to hearing more about, to hearing that sort of stuff. I appreciate that. And it's just when and I love what Nkosi taught, how when he speaks, because it's like he speaks with no story, not related to any story at all, totally clean. But I still want to hear, maybe others don't, but I still want to hear stuff like you're saying that's got a bit of story involved in it. I find that useful and helpful in my everyday life. And when I talked about Alan, are you the one that's quoted about a thorn removing a thorn? Because I sort of feel like, I don't know if I can express myself properly, but I sort of feel like I understand that about a thorn removing a thorn, like, and I don't even know how to explain that to you. Do you know where I'm going with that, Michael, or anybody else? It's just like, I love Nkosi's message, and it's just powerful and beautiful and clean, but I also appreciate this message that's got a bit of storying happening in it, course, I'm encouraged by that, and I don't know. Anybody got any comments about that? Peter, you're looking like you might know something.
Well, what comes up, Faith, is that's for me, it's extremely difficult and threatening to think that it isn't real. And so it's just not something that typically feels like easy, or the me wants to hold on to the me, and I'm not going to discount the story about, or the method of a thorn removing a thorn, but the me likes the idea that it needs to be present to get rid of itself, or something like that. The me just doesn't want to just lay down and go away. It's talking about me now. I don't know how I would do that, other than somehow just letting it be, just to see, okay, this is to me. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with it, but that's what came up for me. That what you're sharing seems to be something that is you're probably not alone with that.
Thank you. I think as you were speaking, I was trying to get my thoughts a bit more clear. I suppose what I'm saying, it's a bit like everything is this, and if I have a pain in my foot, it's a normal sort of thing that you would do, is go to the doctor. If I have some dramas going on within the family, it would be quite a normal thing to go, or a useful, helpful thing to go to a counsellor. And I can find that the story, some of the stuff of the story, is useful to me.
Yeah.
No, it's useful.
What's wrong with that? Yeah, no. Listen, you said it beautifully, Faith. All is this. All is this. So using things, having bridges, it doesn't matter. It's all this. So you're not really getting anywhere. But if in the moment, or as Alan says, if he wants to meditate in the quiet room rather than in the room next to the jackhammer, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, because I think that listening to Nkosi's message purely has sort of closed me off to the taking me away from the fact that everything is this, and I can, if I feel better listening to your message about the plates in the air or whatever, that's all okay too. I think I've dismissed something. I think I've resisted something because I thought, oh, that's not the pure non-dual message. And if I can let go of that idea and say, well, there's a lot of things that are not the pure non-dual message that can make me feel happy and joyful and even peaceful. I suppose that's what Alan's saying with the meditation. I don't know. Anyway.
Faith, one area that I feel maybe you can relate to this, when I get frustrated and angry, and it really pisses me off when somebody is trying to imply I shouldn't, or that, that in spirituality, or if you're like an awakened or advanced in a process, I shouldn't be reacting. And that, or like if there was no me, why would I get mad? And I tell you, when I get mad, and I'm not gonna like think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
If some bullshit goes down,
Yeah. Let me just say, because I just want to say, it's all allowed. All of it. The anger, the frustration, the stress, all of it. It's just not happening to a personal entity in the body. It doesn't mean it's not happening. So a stressful thought can appear, But if there's no one there, it moves on a lot faster versus if someone thinks they now have to deal with it.
Mm.
Also, Faith, what resonates with me, to steal one of Michael's great words, is it resonates with you. If something resonates with you, whether it's the message here or you read a book tonight, if something resonates with you, it doesn't have to be, was it the non-duality way or the not non-duality way? It just resonates. I think when Michael, not to put words in Michael's mouth, but at some point when he had this realization, or even though he would probably say the realization was not happening to anybody, but he started just feeling the me wasn't, there never was a me per se. You could just use the word resonance. Michael, you can say had a resonance, and maybe that, you know, it's still a word, I get that. And so I'd say, Faith, with you, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but with you, Faith, I would say, if you feel a resonance, it's just wonderful. It's this too. And if that means using a tool, or as you know, with me, I like the word bridge, it's all this. So, you know, I'll say one last thing about this. I forgot about this great line from Alan Watts in The Way of Zen. What a shock I'm bringing up Alan Watts. And there's a very popular phrase about to stink of Zen. And it's that sort of, it's still the ego wanting to be in control, saying, well, then I shouldn't do that. Or like you said, Faith, about, well, then that's not pure non-duality. And so there's just this idea that it's just all already there. And if something helps you resonate with that, I would just say it's beautiful. If it's a bridge or a tool, it's that. I love, Michael has used this word a lot, and I really love the word resonate. It just resonates. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for the week.
That's Alan. Well, beautiful. I couldn't agree more, Faith. Resonance was all it was with Nkosi's message. There was just such inclusivity. I'd never heard it said where he said, well, it doesn't matter if there's a me there or not. And because it sort of hit, oh, only a me would care. And I said, well, if it doesn't matter, in other words, he said, this doesn't mind because it's all this, it's all itself. So this doesn't mind itself. So if itself thinks it's whatever, this has no problem with anything. Like life doesn't have a problem with life because it's all life. So life doesn't have a problem with a storm. Now, you know, maybe somebody driving and they're getting downpoured and flooded and they don't like it. But life doesn't have an opinion about anything. That's a thought. Thought comes in. Look around right now. Without a thought, nothing's criticizing anything in your room. The bed, the walls, the computer screen, your body. There's no criticism anywhere. Everything is fine just as it is. It's only when a thought comes in and says, this shouldn't be happening. Oh, I'm so mad about this. That's when the trouble begins. But without the thought,
yeah, I think I don't relate so well to bridge when, Alan, you speak about bridges, but when you say tool, I think that's what I've been on about, is tool. I like that. Yeah. But there's a different quality. Isn't there a different quality? I know everything's this, but isn't there a different quality to our conversations now than there is when Nkosi comes on? Isn't it like two different? Because like we talk now in, I feel like we talk in partly everyday language and partly non-dual. when he comes on, it's like totally non-dual. Is that how other people see it or not?
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, Faith. On the one hand, there's no denying when Nkosi shows up, there's something there that's undeniable, and it causes immediate silence just to fall.
Yeah, that's it.
But is that this any more this than this right here now?
No. No, but it is different.
There is differences. There are
Yeah.
differences. So last week, somebody asked me, Dawn asked a great question. I think it was you, Dawn, about do the personality, the me's have different, are there different, expressions of the me? And I said, yeah, right? Look at all the different expressions. So there are differences. We're not saying that it's all the same. I think that's where, we can get confused trying to like make everything the same. The appearances are different. We like some, we don't like others. But
there is a clear myth that awakening or being advanced looks a certain way, and maybe what I'm hearing you say, Faith, is that maybe we say, well, the way Nkosi shows up, unless we show up exactly the same way, there is something we need to do because that's how it's supposed to look. It's like we have this ideal, and I don't believe that, because then you're chasing something that really doesn't exist.
Yeah, but our conversation that we have now, if I replayed it, say 3 times, I would be almost able to repeat it. Oh, it would be sort of, it's just like everyday language. But when Nkosi comes on, if I played it 33 times, it would probably be new and fresh every time I played it. So there's a difference between when I hear Nkosi and, I mean, this is beautiful too. I'm not denying it, but there's something, to me, this has still got an element of storying in it. And I love that. But Nkosi is like story free. Anybody else agree with that?
Yeah, I would chime in. Yeah, I agree, Faith. I feel like like Michael, with your opening, I always appreciate it because it's like trying to describe the Tao, right? You immediately pull us into like silence, or there's no me there, or the unknowing. And I feel like, I'll use the word tool now. It's like they're little tools that are really clear and succinct that can help us really drop in to, and I know sounds like a lot of story too, but I'm just well, it's this too. So yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like before Nkosi comes on, there's more dialogue, or there's more discussion about, even if it's someone that is talking in a lot of me, and then you're helping them, or Dan is helping them be free of the me, or just say there's no me there, or show me the me. And then when Nkosi comes on, so that's one kind of phase. And I know you can say, well, this is all this too. But then there's sort of like that phase. And then when Nkosi comes on, it becomes more of there's not really a dialoguing as much as there's just everything is this repeated, which is beautiful, because as Faith said, then that becomes the overriding message. And so I've actually felt this way for a long time. I mean, probably at least a year. And they're both beautiful. But I would just wanted to chime in as far as Faith's comments that, yeah, that's been my experience as well.
Yeah, thanks, Alan, because that describes what I was trying to say. Yeah. Now I'll shut up.
by the way, Faith, during the silent period, I saw you having a drink, just so you know, everybody saw that.
That's okay. I mean, that really is the most beautiful part of this message, is the freedom that there are no rules. And the me is all about rules, all about getting it right. So the freedom is from having to get it right, because you don't know what's right. You really don't. And the moment is just spontaneously, this is just happening. It's already this. A thought is a day late and a dollar short. A thought is always in the past. It's never describing this, ever.
But I think that is a perfect symbolism of what Faith and I were talking about. Like, that is a very liberating way of saying it, to where even if it's the me in the story, it helps, like meditating in a quiet room versus next to a jackhammer. And that's one angle. And then Nkosi comes on, and then he just reminds you that everything is this already. And then you can then drop into that, right? Where it's just, okay, there's nothing, there's no dialogue, or there's nothing to really say. It's just already this. And so I'm like Faith. I appreciate both, but I always notice when you have an opening. And I remember our Wednesday night groups in your apartment. I remember things like, we used to talk about the 0 and the 1. Remember that, Dan? And I feel like those were great, just great metaphors that, and again, we can say that we're talking still in story, but now I'm catching myself right away. Whenever I say that, I say, well, that's this too. So it's like, you can't, it's all perfect. So, but anyway, it's just cool, because I love these little metaphors, and it's sort of the simplification of this. And anyway, I will now be quiet too.
Yeah, when you were saying the metaphors, Alan, I was thinking, well, Jesus spoke in metaphors, didn't he? Or something like that, like parables. That's right. So the parables and the metaphors are all beautiful too. I think I've been sort of, denying them, or thinking that's not good enough. It's got to be more pure.
Yeah, that's a big one, Faith. That's a big trap. The me seeking for, well, this teacher's a little more pure than this one, and like Alan said, just, it's all resonance. Just whatever you resonate with, you don't have to apologize to anybody, so to speak. And that's kind of what happened here, is like, once there was the full resonance with Nkosi sharing, just full, blind. I didn't know why. I didn't have a reason. It just felt, something in me said, it has to be all.
Yeah, the resonance is a beautiful word, beautiful description, and a beautiful thing when it happens. Yeah. It's like a little bell ringing that you recognize the sound of, or something. Oh, ting-a-ling, and yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
And you can do things that increase your ability to sort of receive the resonance.
Well, what comes to mind, Don, is the more open and unencumbered or unbiased the more the system resonates with life that happens around, and the more I contract and cling to my thoughts, like and defend these thoughts as being the right one or truth, then that may be diminishing resonance with life happening.
Hi, Nkosi. Welcome.
Hi, Michael. Hello, everyone.
Nkosi.
Hey, Nkosi. I'm looking for a thought, but I can't seem to find one.
Did you bring any?
I brought some. Who is even looking? Yeah. Yeah, there is really nothing to find, There's just what's happening, which may also include something looking for something, but it's all just this appearing as that. There isn't anything outside of this or what's happening to look. There's just this. It can never really be pointed at. It can never really be known. It can never really be understood, because there's nothing outside of it to understand it. To point to it. Or get some clarification. There's just this. What's happening? Waiting, looking, searching. Meditation happening. Seeking happening. Satisfied or not satisfied. So this is so free to be anything, so free to appear as anything. There are no limitations. There's no wrong or right here. Because even what seems to be the doer of things is already not there. It's just this totality appearing as that. The one who says I'm doing this and that is already everything saying that. There's never been any real separate self who has ever done anything. So here there is no suppression. Everything is allowed to be as it is without judgment. So there is already silence, anti-step silence. There are no real things here. There's just this. And what seems to be labels may seem to be somehow imposed in this, because it really, what is so-called a wall, it has never said anything. It doesn't say I'm a wall. They seem to be a label. Let's say it's a wall, but it's not a wall. So really, there are no mountains, there are no trees, no people, no worlds. There's just this. In the story, it may seem as if there is a mountain is a mountain, but really, it's just a story. Those labels are there just to decorate the story, to make the story seem beautiful. So things are not as they seem to be. There are no real human beings. There's just this. What is this unknowable, boundless energy appearing as that? You can call it whatever, it doesn't really mind. You can say it's a Donald. It's a squirrel. No, doesn't matter. It's just this. This doesn't mind names. And this has been given so many names, but it's as it is already nameless, formless, and empty. It's empty and full. And it is not apart from you. It is what you really are, not the idea you have of what you are, or an imagination that seems to arise. So you are already everything. So there is nothing separate from this. There's just this. That which seems to be looking right now, it's not a man or a woman. It's unknowable already. Thoughts that seem to say, oh, this is me, I'm looking, I'm watching Nkosi. They're just thoughts. They're not an evidence that there's a real somebody there. There's just seeing, but nobody's seeing already. That which is looking right now, it's not solid. It's not a body. The body doesn't see anything. That which sees is already formless and empty. So already there is no journey. There are no steps. There is nowhere to get to. There is really nothing to be done. Because you are that which you are looking for. What is being looked for is already that which is looking. So there is no escape here. If a thought comes up that's as a question, seems to say, but how can I do this? But how can I know it? But how can I get it? That's already this which is speaking right now. That's already it, appearing as that. At times, thoughts are more like birds chirping. Chip, 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 chip. What you call an endless chipping. Goes on and on and on and on and on. But why? But why this? Why that? But that space where that is seen from, it's not saying anything. It's not doing anything. It's not trying to get anything. It's not expecting anything. It's not waiting for anything to happen. But the space itself and that which seems to say so many things is one. There is no separation. That's what's coming up. Yeah.
Any last comments or questions before we close out this evening? Thank you to each and every one of you for coming. We so appreciate you. And Nkosi, thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.